Introducing National Streaming Sports, live and on-demand sports talk programming that you can access 24/7. Check us out on YouTube, Facebook, and X. And for the premier sports talk experience, tap into our Roku channel. Start your mornings with Mac and Jack covering all the weekend sports action. Then pour a cup and enjoy all the sports you can drink on the Coffee and Sports podcast. At midday, talk sports from east to west on the Coast to Coast podcast. Followed at night by some hot girl talk with Prim and Proper Sports featuring Sonia Pearson. Talk boxing on the Gloved Fist. Yankee fans tune in for Start Spreading the News. And there's more on the College Sports Huddle and Sports Scope with Robert Butler. And that's just a sampling. There are 20 podcasts in all and 70 weekly shows giving us a 3.4-star viewer rating. To find us on Roku TV, search for National Streaming Sports on the Roku search bar. Click on the logo and you're in. For laptops, mobile phones, and tablets, download the Roku app. National Streaming Sports, live and on demand sports talk for America.
Football season is here, and SeatGeek is my go-to for buying tickets. Now, with SeatGeek, every single ticket is backed with their buyer guarantee. We've all had plans change, and when you can't make it to the big game, SeatGeek has you covered. They're the only ticketer that allows you to return your tickets ahead of the event for credit with SeatGeek swaps. So when things come up, I know that my tickets won't go to waste. So what are you waiting for? Download the SeatGeek app to maximize your possibilities and shop live.
The Big Football Show, every Sunday at 8 a.m. on Roku at 4 p.m. Are we coming up? Yes, we will. All right. Here we are. How are we doing, everybody, today? Please bear with us as there is bad weather across the country. A lot of snow up here, a lot of wind and ice and stuff like that. So we're going to bear with us if the audio or video kind of messes up a little bit. I'm your host, Mac, co-host Jack Hirsch. Keith Angle, the Reverend Angle, with some college stuff. And we got James Martin, of course, J-Train, who is on the debate show and has Friday night with the fellas and does a lot of work for us over here at National Streaming Sports. So, guys, I don't think I've ever led off a show with hockey, any show, never mind the Big Football Show and more. But I have to today. Yeah, that will never happen. I have to today. Canada decided to boo the national anthem, something to do with Trump and his policies that haven't even gone into effect yet. But they decided to boo during the national anthem. So the United States, right at the puck drop, there was 3 fights in 9 seconds. So they went at it right away. Then there was a fight in the goal. That happened too. And a very physical game, hard checking. The United States did win 3-1, and they're pushing on to the championship. I don't know if Canada, if they win, go to play them again or not, but I know there's other teams that if they win, they get another shot at the United States. So, Jack, I mean, we don't cover hockey that much at all anymore, right? Since our expert is not with us anymore. But this was, I don't know if you saw the game, but it was one hell of a game, Jack.
Yeah, I mean, 3 fights in the first 9 seconds. It's disgusting, really, but it's entertaining. I mean, people are watching it, old-fashioned hockey, and they used to say if you eliminated the fights in hockey, people wouldn't be as interested in the games. But then as the years went by, they cut down on the fights and people were still interested. Hockey fans aren't going away because there are less fights. And you could put a stop to the fights by just suspending the guys who are fighting, kick them out of the game. Don't put them in the penalty box for 2 or 5 minutes. Kick them out of the darn game. If they're getting into a fight and the ref is trying to break them up and they're continuing to fight, boo them out. You'd do that in any other sport, wouldn't you? If in football 2 players are fighting and the refs get in between and they're continuing to fight and they won't stop, they're kicked out of the game. That's why the fights don't take place in football, because not only the penalties, the threat of ejection. As far as booing the national anthem goes, imagine next time a team from Canada is playing at an NHL rink and the fans in the United States start booing. That would be completely disgusting if that happened. It would be uncalled for. Regardless of the policies, it should never take place. I can understand if one country's invading another at that moment. If the United States was invading Canada, they would boo at that moment if the countries were at war. That would be understood. But it's completely appalling for any fans of a host country to boo another country's national anthem. And I just want to give a quick example of what Usain Bolt once during the Olympics. He was being interviewed. And all of a sudden, in the middle of the interview, he stopped. He said, no, they're playing the American national anthem. I want to wait till the anthem's done, and then we'll resume the interview.
Yeah. The hockey players of Canada didn't like it, to be honest. It was the fans, and the fans are the ones that booed the national anthem. Keith, listen, hockey is fighting. Whether you like it or not, in football they fight too. I don't know if they get banned for the game or not. I think they sit down and then they try to get in, and then they get booted out if they fight again. But I mean, this is what hockey is. It's been that way forever. It's happened this year where I think it was the Flyers and the Rangers went at it. It's part of. Yeah.
That's definitely part of hockey. It's less a part today than it was, a few decades ago, where it was rampant. I mean, you might have the Flyers in the old days would have 9 or 3 fights every 9 seconds. So that's going to happen. You're promoting this as it's a nationalist tournament, right? There's going to be natural animosities between some of these players. They've all played against most of them have played against each other in the NHL and in other international competitions, and this type of thing's going to happen. And it settles down. It was chippy the little bit that I saw. I didn't see a lot, but it was kind of chippy when I was watching it. As far as the anthem goes, not the first time. They moved it to Toronto Raptors game here a couple of weeks ago as well. That'll all go away as well. And if the Canadian fans are that upset about 25% tariffs that'll go away if you just do what we asked you to do, they ought to remember that their protection basically relies on us. So they may not want to piss us off too much. So
wow,
it's fun though. I'm just saying, they don't have much of an army in Canada, by the way. Anyway, as far as the hockey goes, this is a great tournament. This is what we wanted to see, was this type of action, not the booing. Again, that's not called for, and I don't think it'll happen here, Jack. I would hope not. We need to show a little more class than that, although we don't always do that. But this competition itself, I think, is turning out to be what they envisioned. And they could see Canada again. It's a round-robin tournament, so it's 2 losses, I think, double elimination. So they could still make it to the final with the USA's already there.
Am I missing something here? Isn't this supposed to be a little bit like the Olympic concept, goodwill between nations?
I'm not sure.
I mean,
I don't know.
Naive here, but
I think it's more. Jack, my opinion is that they built this to be more like the Canada Cup back in the 70s between the Russians and the Canadians, if you remember, and it wasn't goodwill then, I can tell you. And I think that's what they want here. They don't want it to turn into a just an all-out brawl, but I don't think they have a problem with some of these animosities coming to bear.
Yeah. So James, believe it or not, we do have a plan to invade Canada and Mexico. So Keith isn't wrong. I mean,
And Greenland. Don't forget Greenland.
Greenland. I don't think it would ever happen, but I mean, there's always something in place when it comes to the United States as far as invasion goes. I don't know if you're a big hockey fan or not, James, but there's nothing wrong with physical checking. They've been checking really hard to hold Canada and the United States, and it was a hard-fought game. I mean, Canada won 1-0. We came back and scored 3 on them by the end, and like I said, Keith's right. Canada can get back in. I think Sweden's part of that. I'm not sure the other ones, but they're also part of it. So James,
Finland upset Sweden too. So any one of these 3 teams could still make their way back to the final.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know much about it.
Sorry,
you're good, man. You're good. And I really couldn't speak on that. And nor did I see that. I just caught this news this morning about this. And just to speak on the national anthem booing, totally disrespectful. I think we had a conversation about being liked and respected, Jack, yesterday. This is one of the things I would say goes into respect. Totally, you don't have to like us. Just totally give us respect. And I totally disagree with them booing the fans, like Max said. But man, and it would be a travesty. It would be looked more down upon us as the U.S. if we did it. If it was the other way around, and I think we would get a lot of flack for doing that to them if we were there booing, or if they were here and they're playing the national anthem and we were booing them.
Probably right.
You know, it's important to remember too. It's as much about who's imposing the tariffs as the tariffs themselves. So
For sure.
you can't just eliminate that.
Very true. So Keith, let's get to a little college. Is Cooper Flagg the best college basketball player in the league, or at least top 3?
Top 3 for sure. I'm not sure about the best yet. He had a tough night. I think I want to say a week or so ago against Clemson. They shut him down pretty well, so he can be stopped. He's not unstoppable. He's not the best college player ever to come out of college. But in this year's class, he's definitely in the top 3. I really like the kid from Auburn if he comes out, Janai Broome. And a couple other guys, but he's a really good team. Duke's a really good team again. It's taken a few years to get back to that elite status when Coach K left, but John Shire's done a really good job of keeping this program afloat. A little unlike the team down the road that's their biggest rival, they've struggled a little bit with Hubert Davis, but they're fun to watch. Cooper Flagg's fun to watch, and just to touch on this real quick, I don't know why college basketball when this week, maybe the NBA too, but forget your all-star games. Why aren't you loading up in marquee games? There's no football. Football's done. This is your window now to really promote your sport, especially college basketball, as you're heading into conference tournaments and then March Madness. You should have marquee games wall to wall Saturday and Sunday this week to fill in where those TV slots would have been for the NFL.
Yeah, I agree. So the NCAA, the March Madness, if I got this right, they said this is the number 1 seeds. Auburn, Alabama, Duke, and Florida are the top 4 seeds, according to what I read, I think, yesterday.
They're the top 4 ranked teams in the AP, I think, and the coaches poll. I didn't see the coaches poll, but I think they were. So are they necessarily going to be the top 4 ranked teams? We don't know yet because the committee makes that decision, not the polls. But there's probably 8 teams right now that still could be number 1 seeds in my mind. These are probably right today the best 4 teams, though.
Yeah, it sure ain't
big surprise.
It sure ain't UConn, that's for sure.
Nah, UConn's struggling. Yeah, bad loss yesterday for sure.
It's that 3-peat thing, Keith. It's that 3-peat thing.
It's hard. It's hard.
Yeah. I mean, maybe Hurley should have went to play with coach the Lakers. Maybe he'd been better.
Hurley. I like Danny Hurley. I think he's a great coach, but his act doesn't wear well when your team's not playing well.
Right.
So you're thinking Hurley should have went to coach the Lakers. Now,
Yeah.
No.
I got to call Mac out on this because Mac
Okay.
always makes a remark whenever anyone gets off to a slow start, like Otani. That should the Dodgers, do they regret signing Otani? The Yankees, do they regret giving Judge the contract? Now that does Connecticut regret re-upping Danny Hurley? Or does Connecticut, you're thinking, having second thoughts? He should have run to the Lakers, who fire coaches, on a semi-regular basis. You think he should have gone to the Lakers?
Well, dude, did I say that UConn should have got rid of him? I didn't say that.
Okay.
Yeah, that certainly isn't
Fair
true.
enough.
Right.
So you're thinking Danny Hurley maybe should have gone to the Lakers. He would have been better off than being at UConn.
Imagine him with the players they got now after that trade. I mean, maybe so. Maybe so, Jack. I mean, he didn't know what was going to happen. He didn't know Luka was going there, but if he did, I mean, if he was there right now, imagine the team he would have.
He's not going to have the type of power in the NBA that he has over college basketball.
No, not at all.
A much different situation.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know what the relationship would have been between him and LeBron. I don't think it would have been the same as Redmond, but I don't know. So anyway, let's see. NCAA. There's some big football games already scheduled, Keith, for the for NCAA football games next year. Texas is at Ohio State, Baylor at SMU, Texas A&M at Notre Dame, Oregon at Penn State, Texas at Oklahoma, and of course Penn State at Ohio State. They play every year anyway. But I mean, there's going to be. I think Notre Dame improves. I think, of course, Ohio State's going to be better. I think Penn State will be better too.
Yeah, one thing that I was concerned about with all the realignment in the big conferences was whether we're going to get marquee out of conference games. And I think in the first 2 years, really the first 2 years of this, I think we still have. We saw some good ones last year. Ohio State and Texas is going to be a huge game. I think that's early. Maybe it's the first week. I'm not sure.
I think so.
I haven't seen the dates on those, but that's going to be a huge game. Some of the others you mentioned are going to be of interest. I mean, that's the big concern as these big conferences get bigger. How are you going to schedule out conference games without them being cupcakes? Because you're in season. I'm sorry, you're in conference. Schedule is going to be such a juggernaut in both the Big Ten and the SEC as we saw last year. It's very tough to get through that schedule, much less schedule marquee out of conference games. But I'm glad these schools are still doing it, and it could be these were already on the books. I don't know. You can buy your way out of those, but they may have already been scheduled too. Like Texas A&M and Notre Dame, I think was part of a home and home that they scheduled that started last year.
Last year, okay.
But they're good games. They'll be fun.
Hey, I got a question, Keith. What do you think about the Arch Manning show? How it begins now? I mean, we only seen bits and pieces of it. What do you think his success is with Texas this year?
I think he'll do fine. I think he adds a dimension to that team because he can run the ball where Cam Ewers really didn't have that threat. Stay healthy. Expectations could come into play because it's going to be a lot of eyes on him. Everybody thinks he's going to be this great superstar, and maybe he will be. Even his father was trying to downplay that a little bit this past week in some interviews. He's going to be what he's going to be. I think he's going to be a really good player, and I think Texas will be an elite team again. The question might be, is he going to be there more than 1 year? The starter.
Well,
He loves it there, though. He makes work because of the money. He just signed like some huge NIL deal. I don't remember. I wrote the numbers down last week. I don't have them in front of me. Like the whole total valuation of it is like $16 million. He may not need to leave.
And I also broached this, James, with Keith. Hypothetically, let's make believe with his limited experience on the college level, Arch Manning came out this year and was eligible for the draft. I'll tell you right now, even with that being the case, he wouldn't get past the Jets at number 7 in the first round.
He'd have been the first pick.
Jets. He might be the first pick. Tennessee might take him first overall based on his potential. A good point, Keith. But if not, worst case scenario between the Titans, the Browns, the Giants, the Raiders, and the Jets, 5 teams in line for quarterback in the first 7 picks. No way he gets past that, and that's with virtually no college experience.
Wow.
You know, I don't know if I agree with that. I mean, we haven't seen what Arch Manning can do. Really?
It's because of the weakness of the quarterback draft this year. He would have been drafted. Maybe wouldn't go number 1. He'd have gone before either Shooter Sanders or Cam Ward if he was out this year. I'm telling you.
Mac, I agree with you, but in the sense his name is going to push him up that way up there. That Manning name is going to push him up there.
Trevor Lawrence was supposed to be great. That was the expectation.
Remember too, I'm not saying he should. I'm just saying he would, because you guys know I feel like I'm taking quarterbacks early.
You're thinking what should be, Mac. We're thinking of what would happen.
Yeah.
And not what should necessarily happen.
Yeah, I'm not saying that. I don't know what he's going to be. He may be a total flop in the NFL. Just like Trevor Lawrence.
Could be. Yeah.
Which is why I say don't reach for these guys, early.
But keep in mind, the NFL is based on running quarterbacks right now. And Arch Manning was a situational running quarterback for Texas. When they needed a running play, they took out Quinn Ewers, put him in. So that kind of is a little bit revealing.
I'm interested to see how much he actually runs the football this year in Texas's offense. That's one of the big questions.
I agree. I mean,
and it could really add quite a dimension.
Yeah. I think it depends on this year. I think he's staying this year. If he has a good year, I think he'll be drafted high. But what happens if he has a bad year?
He won't be. He'll probably still go higher. He'll still go higher than he should.
He'll take another few million and stay in school next year.
Again, he doesn't need to leave, right, Jack? To Jack's point, there's a lot of NIL money for him.
They make more money staying in college than if they entered the draft under the rookie deal. They lose money under the rookie deal. It kind of makes you think. I mean, do they really want to stay in college because they like the college life or trying to get more experience or whatever? Or are they making a financial decision? I'm not sure anymore.
I think it's both. I think that's the bright side. One of the bright sides of NIL is to entice players to stay longer and to allow them to gain more experience. That way they're more prepared once they get into the NFL.
Yeah, I would say the only bright side is, but I like it myself.
Rick wants to know, who was your future bet for this upcoming season?
Oh, it's only February, Rick. Give me a couple months to figure it out. I'm still trying to get over the last one. I was so close.
Yeah,
I'll give you one. It'll be a value pick, though. It's not going to be any chalk. It'll be a value pick when I come up with it, probably in July.
So, what do you think about all these sons coming to play college football, eventually making the pros? Marvin Harris Jr. Now we got Jerome Bettis Jr. Of course, the son of the Hall of Fame running back Jerome Bettis, who is a wide receiver. And he signed with Notre Dame. Of course, he gets there because his father was there, so he gets to go in there anyway. But what do you think about this? Do you think this is a trend that keeps going on, Keith?
Well, I mean, if they can keep producing top level athletes, I think, if I'm not mistaken, I think it was Peyton Manning's son that was turning some eyes as an 8th or 9th grader here recently, similar to his cousin Arch. I think it was Peyton's son. And they start tracking these kids, especially when they've got a name. They start tracking them early. We've been hearing about Arch Manning since he was in the 7th grade, I think.
Yeah. So you notice, James, there's not LSU is not in one of the big games this year. I just thought I'd bring that up to you.
No big games for LSU at all. Wow.
Not at all.
The first game, I think they're playing against Clemson, so. They'll be
That's
there.
A big game. Yeah, that's a good one.
I didn't see that.
Yeah.
I didn't see that. I think you're making that up. I didn't see that.
No, we played USC the past couple of years, the first game, and got beat. I mean, when we should have won those games, but I guess they're giving them a break to go away from the West Coast and go all the way to the East Coast and play
All right.
Clemson.
That is a good style, big game. So Keith, me, James, and Jack, we debated this yesterday. James Cook wants $15.1 million per year, starting next year when he comes off his rookie contract. What do you think? Is he worth it?
What's Saquon getting paid?
About
What did he finally get?
37 million for 3 years, 26 million guaranteed. This deal.
13.5 per year.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like James Cook. He probably falls short of that number, though. I don't think there's any. And I like him. I don't think any way he's the highest paid running back in the NFL, or best running back in the NFL. But running backs are starting now. Here's the thing: running backs are becoming more important, right? We saw that with Saquon. We saw that with Derrick Henry, and a few others. But that doesn't mean they're going to get paid. That doesn't mean teams think they can't replace that production. So that remains to be seen whether they'll start paying running backs again, and that's going to be a big deal here. This could be a barometer of what's going to happen with running backs going forward. He's a great player. It's a matter of how great they think he is.
So
Yeah.
It's important to that team.
Go ahead, Jack.
Yeah, like Keith, I was telling Mac and I think James on the show, if I'm Saquon Barkley, I get mad enough while I'm figuring I got to get an extension. I'm honoring my contract the way it is now, but you give me an extension that's guaranteed at least 1 year, 25 million, extend me or thereabouts, which is less than the wide receivers are getting, but at least I'm put somewhat in the ballpark. And if you're not going to extend me, I'm giving you an immediate deadline. I'm retiring. I'm just retiring. If he's ready to retire, if he's ticked off enough, saying, I'm going to walk away completely, and now you'll see how valuable running backs are. And what are the Eagles going to do? Play hardball with him? They can't afford to lose him. He's more valuable than anyone with the possible exception of Jalen Hurts, on offense by far.
He is today, but is he 3 or 4 years from now is the question. He's not. He's got to be in his 30s, at least 30 by then, I would think, if not 31.
You're underpaid.
And a lot of wear and tear.
1 year, fat extension for that year. You're underpaying him the next couple of years. So look at it that way. So you're the Eagles. I call them bluff and I really retire.
You think after winning his first Super Bowl, with a chance to go to a Super Bowl a couple more times with the Eagles, he's going to retire?
He's not going to retire before the end of his contract.
Yeah, no, I don't think if he would be ready to do it. If you're getting underpaid, what about your pride, your self-esteem? All these guys are getting paid more money than you. A CD Lamb is getting what? Close to 3 times the amount of money you're getting? And you're okay with that. Oh, we won the Super Bowl. Let everyone pat you on the back and underpay you. I mean, it's that way with all these darn running backs. They're undervalued.
I think that he has leverage, and I think he's going to sit out this season. Not sit out, but he's going to sit out of camp, and he's going to renegotiate that contract. I know people, most people don't like that, but this is how it works. I think he has leverage. They're going to renegotiate the contract. It's going to happen because you already know he has leverage. No one could imagine that he's going to get 2,000 yards and break the record for total yards with going all the way to the Super Bowl. It's just hard to do as an outlier. So he's pretty much your guy. You got Jalen Hurts, but I think he's the number one guy that you depend on. So he has leverage to get out.
But I can't pay him based on something he probably will not do again. I don't see that.
He's your weapon. He's your main weapon.
Great.
You make a great point, James. They oftentimes in the NFL, they readjust the contract where a guy takes less money or redo it to help the cap. Well, this should be the opposite way. Redo his contract. I hate the word renegotiate because a contract should be a contract. You could get around renegotiating by just extending the guy at an extra big amount to even things out. But something's, got to be done about it. James Cook, to answer your question, Yeah, he's worth the 15.1 million in itself. But compared to other running backs, no. If you're going to just do the comparison to the elite running backs, the answer is no. But if you don't do the comparison, the answer is yes.
Why are you comparing him to other running backs? I'm talking about what it means to the team. I would say James Cook is the major weapon of the Buffalo Bills. Saquon,
they didn't even give him the ball. But Mac, on the biggest drive of the season for the Bills, he's not even getting the football. Which again, that may just be a scheme thing, right? But maybe that's what they think of James Cook as there being the guy, and I don't say that's right. They should have given him the ball in that drive, and that 4th and 1, he should have got the ball.
Maybe their strategy is wrong. I mean,
fire the coach and give the money to Cook.
But I'm just saying that Saquon Barkley, the Eagles, they have Jalen Hurts, they got AJ Brown, they got Smith, they got Goddard, they got weapons. They got weapons on
everywhere.
The Eagles. But Buffalo really doesn't have any weapons. I mean, you got Allen that can run, maybe he can't, and then you got James Cook. I think
if he gets paid, you may see a swing. If he gets paid, you may see a swing now in the whole thing.
James Cook is not a great running back. I mean, he's very valuable for Buffalo, don't get me wrong, but he is not a great running back. For example, if Buffalo was in the Super Bowl instead of Kansas City wouldn't have quite game planned as much on stopping James Cook as they did Saquon Barkley. Everyone knew that Kansas City's strategy on defense, and Kansas City played a good game defensively. Let's not forget that in the Super Bowl, despite how, they lost. Their whole game planning was basically don't let Saquon Barkley beat them. It wouldn't have quite been the same with James Cook. Yeah, they would have been concerned with stopping James Cook. They would have considered him as a weapon, but not nearly to the extent they considered Saquon Barkley.
Didn't Buffalo beat Kansas City?
I know I'm going to jump, guys. Yeah, I'm going to jump. This conversation, this will be the last time we.
The last 4 times, so.
This isn't the last time we'll talk about this, I'm sure. So.
Yeah, it's so much. I just got to call you out again. You want to prove your point to how valuable James Cook is. James Cook has lost every playoff game to Kansas City. Okay, so
listen, he's not proving it to me. I'm saying to the team. What does the team think? That's all.
All right, Keith, take care. James Cook has lost the game. So James Cook all by himself has lost the game for the
you were going to point out how valuable he was. Well,
he is. He is valuable.
He's valuable. He's not an elite running back. He's not Derrick Henry. He's not Saquon Barkley. He's a very good running back.
He's not the same style.
Starts and ends.
He's not the same style.
Jack, man. I have to agree with Jack. I think he's a very good running back. I don't think he's elite.
Well, I'm just saying it's got to start somewhere. And James Cook is there's no reason why it shouldn't start with him. No reason if he's coming up on his contract. So, anyway.
But Buffalo does have leverage with looking at what the stats show. I'm not saying that he didn't get the ball enough. Yes, he probably should have got the ball more. I saw the carries. But they have leverage. They can look at that and say, why are we going to pay you this when the guy that just broke Terrell Davis' record doesn't make more? You're going to be making more money than him.
Yeah.
Maybe so. I don't know. Let's see. Matt Stafford has 3 potential landing spaces: the Steelers, the Vikings, or the New York Giants. Now, I mean, I could see the Vikings. Pittsburgh, why would he want to come to the Giants? I mean, I don't get that. I mean, they would want the Giants' first-round draft pick.
He's a free agent, isn't he, Matthew Stafford? From what I understand. Correct me if I'm wrong. I'm not certain of it. But I believe he can go wherever he wants. I don't think the Giants wouldn't have to give up a number 1.
I don't know if he's a free agent because, why would they be talking about a trade then?
I'm not so. Maybe he's a restricted free agent.
Could be.
Maybe.
Yeah, I couldn't see the Giants giving up a number 1 for Stafford. But then again, the guys in charge, the Giants, Joe Shine, their GM, I guess they're looking to save their jobs. Their jobs are very precarious, and Stafford is a win now quarterback. So he's maybe the best option to win now. But if I'm the owner, I don't allow them to. I don't mess around and give up a number one for a guy who might only play for me 1 year.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. Guess who we got coming in? We got the Philly sports guy coming in. I think I saw him at the parade. So we'll talk a little bit about that. How you doing, Bags?
I'm feeling like a champion.
You are. Yeah. Right. I mean, that was an interesting thing. A lot of people thought Hell and Damnation was going to come during the parade. There might have been something little that happened that we'll talk about in a little bit. But I thought was cool. Saquon Barkley grabs the towel boy from the crowd and has him join the team. I mean, that's Saquon Barkley is just a nice guy.
100%. I got to meet his father at the parade, and was really just. I obviously I congratulated him, and we said briefly. I says, you never would have thought this would ever happen with the Giants, huh? And so I had to take a little shot at you in the process, but
Thank you.
it was a lot of fun, and obviously the team was very excited, and so were all the parents and things like that. The parents, right, felt like we're partying better than the kids were.
Yeah, Mac,
Yeah.
Mac and myself were complaining a little bit right after the Super Bowl about some of the behavior, and I know it's probably a minority of the Eagle fans who vandalize the truck, cause damage. It's the minority, but it can't get tolerated. I mean, you have to come down hard on fans who cause property damage. There's a difference between celebrating, having a great time like the people are having at the parade, having fun, and going out and smashing windows and causing, that type of chaos.
It's funny because really that happens at every celebration. They just don't announce it the way they do with Philadelphia. Philadelphia gets a little bit of a bad rap, and the media likes to portray it as, hey, we are just all a bunch of monsters that have to Hulk smash everything since the moment that from the moment we won. I think of it a little differently. It's like there were 0 arrests. There were a couple of very minor injuries. The fire that everybody kind of saw was a very controlled fire with the fire department right there. They created a little bit of a bonfire in the middle of the street, and it was very controlled and watched by the fire department, so it wasn't anything that got out of hand. And they didn't they didn't climb the poles this time. They took them down. So there was a little bit of the college atmosphere, where it's like I think that there were like 24 poles instead of climbed. They were brought down and destroyed, and walked around the city a little bit. But when all is said and done, it's like it's such a minor thing when you're talking about the millions of people that were out on the streets that night, all over the Philadelphia Valley, like not just the city of Philadelphia, but in Delaware County and in Montgomery County and Chester County, and Eagles fans everywhere were out celebrating. And it's, I think it's more of a testament of, how good we actually are. And it's not, they said the media likes to portray us as monsters, and we're not.
Pags, I mean, listen, I know you, and I know how you are. There is no way you could agree with somebody taking somebody's truck and taking the food and
No,
destroying it.
100%, 100%. It should not be done. And
Right.
ultimately, I mean, it's like these are things that, yes, could I take it back? I wish I could take it back and it not happen. Absolutely.
Yeah.
But when you talk about the 20 or so people that are involved in that small incident in comparison to the millions of people who are out there, it's less than 0.01%. And that's, and like I says, it's, thank God that guy has insurance and he's going to get everything in his truck brand new, as if that truck was, like that's a brand new truck. So it kind of works out for everybody involved. I mean, he may have had that, man, he may love that truck, but he'll love another truck.
Yeah, that's great. I mean, I'm sure all store owners want to get their windows smashed so they could get new stuff. Yeah, works out really well.
It's again, I understand that what you're saying, but it's, I mean, like I said, it's such a small minority that.
Pags, we started talking about it. I'm sorry, Mac, about a topic for a couple of days that really is right up your alley with Saquon Barkley right before you came on. If I'm Saquon Barkley, I mean, he's getting way underpaid. Running backs are undervalued, especially Saquon Barkley.
So he makes now 15 million a year. He doesn't make 12.
He's getting
maxed
way
out.
underpaid at 15.
Not anymore. Not anymore. He's now the highest paid running back in the league because of all the bonuses.
So you're saying it's okay that CD Lamb makes more than double the amount of Saquon Barkley? Come on. Get out of here.
That's one of the
Get out of here.
Is it fair? Listen, the reason why CD Lamb makes so much money is because Dallas is a train wreck in terms of how they deal with their people. He's making 10% of the cap.
Let me give you.
He's making 10% of the cap right now. So it's like that's a lot of money, and that's why Dallas is in cap hell, and that's why they're not going to be getting out of it anytime real soon.
Pax, let me ask you this: if you're Saquon and you're in his shoes, and you have to work very hard to get incentivized money, would you sit out to make sure your money becomes guaranteed versus incentives?
Well, everything that he did this year actually gets guaranteed for the rest of the contract. So his contract's no longer 12 million a year. It's went up to 15 million.
I didn't know that. Really,
yeah,
it's been
so
pushed up.
he got $3 million in bonuses that remain now. He maxed out his contract for this. So now, because he got what he did this year, his contract jumps to $15 million a year. So it's actually, and when you think about it, that's 5%. I mean, the cap is under 300 million, obviously. So it's like $272 million. That's 5%. And that makes sense to me. Like, and now, does that make it right for CeeDee Lamb and other receivers that are getting well over that? When you're putting the oranges all in the cart, is that like that orange better than this orange? Absolutely not. Saquon was a much better player this year than CeeDee Lamb was. Does CeeDee Lamb deserve that money? Well, his agent was able to get that money, and Jerry Jones gave him that money. The Eagles aren't playing that game. There's no way that he's going to be able to do that. And the truth of the matter is that Saquon Barkley is a humble guy. He is a good guy, and $15 million is still a good amount of money, and I think that, and not only that, there's going to be a lot more money that comes in and through endorsements and things like that. Well, I think the goal now is to try to run it back, right? That would be the next goal.
Jack and James are trying to tell me that Saquon should sit out to get this money. And I said he just won a Super Bowl. And he might go to a couple more. Why would you sit out now? There's no reason to.
Exactly. I mean, like I said, it's not like you're getting underpaid. You are the highest paid running back now in the league by a couple of million.
Well, what happens if the Buffalo signs James Cook the way Matt feels they absolutely should for $15.1 million? James Cook would be getting paid more than Saquon Barkley.
And only rushed for half the yardage.
But no, but that would be wrong. That would be wrong.
Right, we agree that'd be wrong.
I guess that would really tell you exactly where Buffalo is. I mean, that's the truth of the matter. Listen, contracts are always going to get beaten. You always are going to want to pay the guy more than what the highest guy is getting paid. And that's okay if you want to do that. But you didn't get that type of production from him. He didn't rush for 2,000 yards. He didn't break the all-time rushing record throughout the entire season in comparison to Terrell Davis. So it's like, you could say whatever you want. Truth of the matter is that the money is there. And, I'll tell you here's a little something for you, Jack. Mr. Barkley, when he went to take a picture with me, there was a Jets symbol on this phone case. And
his dad is a big Jets fan. His dad loves the Jets. Why didn't the Jets just give him whatever money he wanted? When you look back on that.
Well, you know what? It's probably because they spent all that money on a guy named Mr. Rogers, and it wasn't his
Well,
neighborhood.
Rogers took a cut to make things work with the cap, so let's not knock him with that. Oh, something interesting happened. Let me just mention the morning after the Super Bowl. I came down a bit hard on Sonia. I felt bad later, but I think I was correct. She felt at one point during the game to give the Chiefs a spark, they should have benched Patrick Mahomes and put in this backup Carson Wentz, who you're no doubt familiar with. What do you think?
No chance. That
well,
would have
that's
been
what
a
I'm
bad
telling her,
decision
but
to make.
that's what
Yeah.
she felt, you know?
Yeah, there was no chance that that was going to occur. I mean, I think that they stuck to their game plan, and it didn't work. And they didn't make any really good, strong adjustments. I mean, you take out the last 6 minutes of the game, and that game was 40-6. That was the score of that game. You know, I know that they got the 22 points and all of that, but truth of the matter is that the Eagles, finally took their foot off the gas. I mean, it was like once they scored that touchdown. I mean, because I think that for a moment they were trying to go for the shutout. You know, and they played well enough to get it. Really, it was until 3 minutes and 33 seconds or 23 seconds left that they didn't even crawl in the third quarter. That the Chiefs crossed over midfield.
Teams get a little fatigued. The Eagles are a little fatigued at the end of the game because they so dominated, you know, their pass rush. The players got a little tired. And finally, the Chiefs figured things out a little bit, but the game was out of hand.
They didn't get tired. They didn't get tired. They just stopped playing a little bit. They started celebrating.
No, but
I've never seen a Gatorade shower with 3.5 minutes left to go in a game.
I gotta
I've never
agree with
seen
Pat.
that before.
I think they let them
They
off
were
the gas.
celebrating at that point. They were celebrating.
The final score was deceiving there, but I think what's a little deceiving too, the Chiefs actually did well on balance defensively. You know, it was the Eagles won this game with their defensive unit essentially. I mean, on both sides of the ball, obviously, but the Eagles were so dominating the way they overpowered KC's offensive line. That's the story of the game. I mean, they should have given the MVP, not to a particular name, the Eagle, you know, defensive front.
But they couldn't. They weren't allowed to spend the entire defensive front to Disney. Disney doesn't have that type of money.
Could you ever give it? Could you ever give it to 4 guys the MVP? We've seen the 2 guys get in the Super Bowl in the past. Just give it to 4 or 5 guys, who overpowered Kansas City.
I don't think that'll ever happen. They're not going to cut up that trophy like that.
Real quick, Bags, before we hit commercial, we got a trivia with Jack, of course. And I do want to get your comments on the hockey game last night because I know you were excited as I was about the game last night. But first,
didn't that start off amazing? We'll talk about it in a minute.
Yes, back to the parade. There was a couple that got married during the parade after it went by. I wanted to ask you about the shooting by the porta potties when the couple tried to cut in line, and I think the guy who shot his significant other by mistake. I don't know if you heard about that or not.
I did hear about it. People reached out to me because I was actually very close to that area. However, I did not know there was a shooting. I did not hear about it until after the parade. It was, I mean, it's unfortunate, and I will just kind of leave it at that. Obviously, I don't know all the details. They tried to cut in the line for the porta potty, and it's, tempers are going to rage because they were out drinking since 4:00 in the morning and things like that. It's, again, it's not something that you wish happened, but again, such a minor thing, and it wasn't. Nobody was killed. Obviously, the person that got shot had to get medical attention, but she's fine, and that was the only issue all day long. So I mean, I guess.
That's
there's
all.
always
It's
going to
just
be
one
something.
Shooting. That's all. It was
Hey, listen. At least it wasn't last year. with
Kansas
Kansas City.
City. Yep.
So I mean, it
22.
could have been much worse.
Yes.
I don't think I listen again. I think that tempers will flare. Do I believe that they should have carried a gun to a parade? No, absolutely not. That that guy should definitely be arrested and charged. But that being said, it could have been much worse, and we saw evidence of that last year. And I'm not trying to say
Yeah.
that, hey, Kansas City is a better city or a worse city than Philadelphia. I'm just saying that the last year kind of gave us an idea of what's potentially could occur in comparison to what actually does occur.
Okay, Jack. So here's your trivia question for today. Let me get this music going. So, which tight end is the first tight end to get 1,000 yards? So, that's your trivia question. We'll be back after these commercials. Get the answer from Jack, who, I mean, he's got a good shot at this one, guys. He really does, because, I mean, it's during his time.
No, I mean, there are a few good tight ends. I got to think a 14-game schedule could it have been done. The 16-game schedule.
I think this is as easy as it can get.
It was the first one. Okay, see, there you go. Pags thinks it's easy. We'll be right back after these messages.
Introducing National Streaming Sports, live and on-demand sports talk programming that you can access 24/7. For the premier sports talk experience, tap into our Roku channel. Start your mornings with Mac and Jack covering all the weekend sports action. Then pour a cup and enjoy all the sports you can drink on the Coffee and Sports podcast. At midday, talk sports from east to west on the Coast to Coast podcast. Followed at night by some hot girl talk with Prim and Proper Sports featuring Sonia Pearson. Talk boxing on the Gloved Fist. Yankee fans tune in for Start Spreading the News. And there's more on the College Sports Huddle and Sports Scope with Robert Butler. There are 20 podcasts in all and 70 weekly shows giving us a 3.4-star viewer rating. To find us on Roku TV, search for National Streaming Sports on the Roku search bar. Click on the logo and you're in. National Streaming Sports, live and on-demand sports talk for America.
There seems to be hundreds of betting sites out there. Don't be fooled. Some sites are only legal in certain states. Some sites pay you in Bitcoin. Then you have to change it into dollars. One of the sites was even hacked. BetUS has been in business for over 30 years. My friend made a future bet, and by the end of the month has a 50% chance to make $17,000. You can bet on futures on anything. Who makes the Super Bowl? Who wins the Super Bowl with great odds? The National College Football Championship. The NBA games are up and going. And of course, you can bet on who wins the NBA championship. The WNBA is up and playing too. BetUS has all the casino games too, if you like that. Just scan the code on the right-hand corner, brings you to BetUS. NESSP.info also has BetUS links. Check it out and bet responsibly.
Yo, you already know it's your boy LCF. I just tore it up for Zodiac TV. Shout out DJ Epps. Oh man, it was great, man. We did an interview. Then I hit the stage. The crowd was amazing. They gave me all their energy. I gave them that energy back. Linked up with some dope artists in the building. Zodiac TV, man. Hey, we gonna celebrate for the rest of the night, you know what I mean? With some Bel Air. Shout out my nigga Rose. Holla at your boy. I mean, boss shit, you already know. But we tore it up, man. Performance was amazing. The set was amazing. Zodiac TV, shout out y'all boys, man. Thank you for having me. You already know I'm gonna come back. Your boy finna come back. Go to work, did it all for nothing. Make sure y'all go get that single, available on all platforms. Let's go.
My girl just told me that she pregnant, we expecting the shit. So I had to buckle down, accelerate, no slowing down. Some people, that's why I don't come around.
I just love watching James' face when that's on. I really do. So I'm my daughter about it. So anyway, Pags, I did, believe it or not, start off with hockey and the and the of course the game, the United States against Canada. Well, let's get the answer to this first. Sorry, which tight end, Jack, the first in history to get 1,000 yards?
Yeah, I was thinking of some guys from the past, but no, like John Mackey, a great tight end, but 14-game schedule. Mike Ditka, he had some great tight ends, Gates. I mean, the most obvious answer would be the biggest weapon, but the most obvious answers are probably wrong. And that would be Travis Kelce, who Patrick Mahomes' primary weapon over the years. So, yeah, I mean, I didn't say I thought that was correct, but that was the most obvious that popped out at me. So that's the answer I'm going to go on.
Right. Pags, you said this was easy. What you got?
I thought it was just straight out Tony Gonzalez, like that he was just the first one that was really a tight end being used, and thought that he was the one that first got to 1,000 yards.
James,
that's a good pick actually there too, But then you get guys like Rob Gronkowski, who you could think about that. James, is that the guy you were going to think to name? But I didn't.
Way back, man.
He was used.
All right, come on, James, you might have it.
Kellen Winslow, or I was going to say either Mike Ditka or Kellen Winslow. I'm not sure.
Well,
Mike Ditka never made it to 1,000.
Yes, he did. He was the first
yes,
one.
He did. He was the first. The guy I knew it was in my head. Yes, because Brock Bowers just broke his record.
Why James get 2 picks? I mean,
I didn't get it right. I didn't get it right.
I said he got half.
I mean, I threw out Mike Ditka's name before, didn't I? John Mackey, Mike Ditka. Then I'm going to claim, give me half a credit. Come on.
Yeah.
I can throw 4 names, 4 or 5 names. If I get one of them, am I getting partial credit? Come on.
Is that what you want, Jack? Really?
No, everyone gets 1 pick. Max, look it like a man.
Just go ahead and say I picked Kellen Winslow as my final answer. I'm wrong.
James is coming up with 2 picks, and if he misses 2, James will throw in the 3rd one, and then he gets it right on the 3rd one, and you say, you're correct, James. You nailed it. You're going to tell him. I mean, come on, Mac.
So Mike Ditka got first one to 1,000. He ended up with 5,812 receiving yards. Of course, he played for the Bears for most of his career as tight end. He also played for the Cowboys as a tight end. So
he also played for the Eagles. He actually started as an Eagle.
Very true.
Did he really?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
He was drafted by the Eagles.
Wow.
Think of who the Bears had on that team with Ditka. They had Dick Butkus, Gale Sayers. Man, oh man, did they have 3 overpowering superstars?
And they were terrible.
Yeah,
they were terrible as a team.
Pags, like just getting a little back with the Super Bowl. I'm sorry, one thing we didn't run by it before the game. And I changed my pick on the morning of the game. Finally, I picked the Eagles 31-20 because every vibe was pointing to an Eagle win. Every vibe to me, as I got to the Super Bowl. But we didn't talk at all. And I didn't hear anyone talk about the potential storyline if Mahomes had to go out of the game. Imagine Carson Wentz gets in there. What a compelling story that would have been.
Would it have been
Didn't
compelling?
You just mention that?
No, but had he gotten in, could you imagine? Everything on the line, the Carson Wentz, former Eagle, and you get the feeling Eagle Nation doesn't look too fondly back on Carson Wentz. That's just a feeling I get. Is that correct?
We don't care anymore, actually. It's like I think Eagle Nation understands that without Carson Wentz, that first Super Bowl may not have occurred. So I think they give him his flowers for that. I think that everything kind of happened after that, and here's what happened with Carson Wentz in my eyes. Obviously after he got hurt and they win the Super Bowl, he tries to come back early, and he tries to throw every pass from that moment on like he's trying to win the Super Bowl. And you can't win the Super Bowl in game 3 of the regular season, in game 4 of the regular season. And I feel like that sense of urgency overtook him. And in the process of that, when you're acting like every game is the Super Bowl because you're trying to get back there in your own head, like you need to resolve these issues that you have because you weren't the quarterback that won the Super Bowl, it started to weigh on his teammates. And I think that it took him a while to overcome that. I think he's overcome it now. I think he's found a good spot where he's okay. He's the backup in Kansas City and he's done his thing. I think he's going to get another opportunity to start in this league again. And I think he's going to do okay when he gets that chance.
Well, he's
Jack,
to Indianapolis and Washington, given an opportunity to start. It didn't work out at two other places. The Jets have a help wanted sign at quarterback.
You know who else has got a help wanting side, and I expect him to go there more than I think to the Jets? New Orleans. I think it's possible that he winds up in New Orleans as a
It's an
starter.
upgrade over Derek.
no, thank you.
Likely.
No, thank you. I'm good. But what I will say, I want to respond to what Jack said about it being compelling. I mean, I think it would have been more of an indictment of what a bad game that Andy Reid called. You know, to even add to how bad he did, why would you put him in and make
No,
it
if he
even
got
worse?
injured, if Mahomes got injured and had to go out, that's
Gotcha.
what I mean.
Okay.
Then they had
Okay.
to go to, and if Carson Wentz rallied the Chiefs over the Eagles, or once Carson Wentz got into the game, wow, this is, considering Wentz's history with the Eagles and all, it made for like a heck of, a potential story, but no one talked about it before the game. It was like Carson Wentz
I
was
don't
a bad
know.
guy.
I don't know if Sonia's listening, but this is the second time you made fun of Sonia for saying Carson Wentz could have sparked the troops, and now you saying the same thing again.
I'm not saying that thing at all. At all, they would have been forced to put Carson Wentz in if Mahomes got injured. It would have been ridiculous for it to be a voluntary move. That would have been ridiculous. But if Mahomes got injured, what choice do they have then to put Wentz in? That's what I meant with compelling, that the chance that if he got into the game by some chance. You're not going to you're not going to sit down Patrick Mahomes for anyone. Let's be honest. If you had Joe Burrow on the bench as a backup and Mahomes is struggling, yeah, you can make a move. I mean, but come on. I mean, the same thing with Jalen Hurts. If Jalen Hurts was struggling, Jalen Hurts would have had to have thrown 4 interceptions before they would think of going to Come on.
All right. Let's get to the hockey. That's what I want to do with Pags. So let's get to the hockey. Pags looked like an old-fashioned hockey game. They booed the national anthem. United States players did not like it at all. They ended up fighting 3 times, like a 9 seconds. Physical. I mean, the check-in was unbelievable on both sides. They were going at it. And the United States ended up 3-1. And I don't know if Donald Trump is even part of the discussion or not, but we know with the tariffs, he kind of is.
A little bit. I found it very interesting that both Kachuk brothers, who I am not a big fan of in normal everyday life, were the ones that started the fights and stuff like that. And both of them were off the ice in 3 seconds into the game. And then obviously that third fight, which really probably shouldn't have even happened. I mean, that guy was well undermatched. In that one, it's just like I think he dropped his gloves way too soon, and then that's why they wound up getting going on the power play, Canada. But yeah, that atmosphere, and it was a Canadian crowd. I mean, that was very pro Canada out there, and yes, with everything that's going on. Hey, listen, this is politics aside. I mean, that was one of the better games that I have seen in a long time. And the fact that that's an all-star game, like you can't tell me that those guys aren't trying to win for their country. And I kind of felt a little bit like the Russians, like this, it had a 1980 feel to it.
I was thinking that.
And like I said, to start off with 3 fights and the scoring the way it was and stuff like that, it was very tightly checked, it was a very tight game. This is what they want. They wanted this type of thought like, hey, we're doing this for, national honor here, and
Mhm.
the players are doing exactly what they're supposed to do here. I mean, Canada and the USA have a bitter rivalry when it comes to hockey, more than anything else. And I think that well, we got the upper hand this time. But you're going to see these two in the finals.
You think so? I thought. I mean, I know it's a round robin. Sweden ain't bad, Pags. I don't know if they can beat Canada or not, but yeah, maybe they see each other again. That would be awesome. That would be awesome.
Yeah, well, it looks like I think USA clinched because nobody can catch them now because of that.
Right.
They have 6 points, and I think that's gonna win it. So they may even rest against, I think it's Finland or Sweden. I think it's Sweden that they have left. Um, but I'm interested to see. Obviously, these are only four nations, and there's two
Right.
nations that are missing right now because the Russians are going to be playing soon enough, like within the next couple of years, once they get all this stuff figured out there, and then they're going to have the Czech Republic also be a team in this tournament. So you're going to have those six teams, and I think once that happens, you're going to be able to see all the greatest players in the world playing for their nation, and I think that that's going to
Right.
make it a lot better. But for the first season, or for the first year of this, and being an All-Star game, yeah, that was awesome.
I thought so too. There was one thing I missed in college before we go on to the NBA. I mean, in football, top free agents that are available this year. T. Higgins is one. Sam Darnold, I think he's a free agent. That's what it said. Tampa Bay's Chris Godwin. Philadelphia has a couple. They have Josh Sweat and linebacker Zach Brown. Amari Cooper, defensive end Khalil Mack, running back Aaron Jones, and Stephon Diggs. Let's take one at a time. James, if you're a team, the New Orleans, do you want T. Higgins on your team?
Absolutely. If we could afford him, I don't think our cap allows for a player like that. But definitely, if we could afford him, he's the number one with those two guys, with Olave and Rashid Shaheed. But man, we can't afford him. So yeah, I know Christmas is a waiting list for us.
Hags, you were shaking your head. Would you want him on the Eagles?
Yeah. Well, why wouldn't you want him on any team? It's going to be a matter of where he fits. Obviously, I think that he's going to get a lot of money. He's going to get more like CeeDee Lamb money. And I don't know that the Eagles want to spend that type of money. We already are paying two receivers really well. So there's no need for us to go after him like that. I think that there's definitely going to be a spot for him. The name that actually stands out to me most in that list, and you've mentioned some really good names in there, is Khalil Mack. Like that's the guy who's gonna wind up going to, you know, a team. Yeah, I kind of feel like he's going to wind up on Washington or a team like that, where Washington's going to bolster their defensive line. Washington's got a lot of cap space. They have a very unique situation going on there. And I think that it's going to be a battle between the Eagles and Washington for the next couple of years to come, because Washington is able to put themselves in the position right now to really do well in this offseason.
Jack, Sam Darnold. He's available. We mentioned the three teams that were a landing spot for him, but he can go anywhere he wants if a team's willing to pay him. How about Sam Darnold on the Jets?
No, I mean, it wouldn't be a good fit in the long term. I liked Sam at Minnesota last year. I thought he'd have a really good year. I've said that a few times, and he did. It's not the greatest fit for the Jets, what they'd have to pay him. I look at the alternatives with the Jets. If they could get a Quinn Ewers in the second round and get a bridge quarterback for now, I'd rather take a shot with that. When the guy's been with the team a few years and it didn't quite work out, to run it back with him again, I'm just not thrilled with it. Even the Vikings, if Sam Darnold were truly that good, why would the Vikings be willing to move on from a quarterback who took them to a 14-3 record? Think of that. I mean, they might welcome him back for 1 year on a 1-year contract, but if they're not willing to work out a 3-year deal with Sam Darnold, I mean, what does that really tell you? I mean, he's a good quarterback. He could maybe help some teams, Sam Darnold, but I don't think he's never going to get to the elite quarterback status. So, look, if they signed Sam Darnold and the money was feasible, like $30 million a year, 2 years, $60 million total, I would be okay with that, I guess. But
He deserves more than that. Actually, I feel like he deserves more than that money.
You're talking based on merit what he did last year, but I get the Neil O'Donnell feeling, who took the Steelers to a Super Bowl, and the Jets signed him as a free agent, and it didn't quite, work out. And I'm a Sam Darnold fan, don't get me wrong. I just don't quite like the fit with the Jets. I think he'd be better off going to a team like the Raiders.
How about the 49ers as a landing spot for him? I feel like that they may decide to move away from Purdy, that they're realizing that Purdy was more of a flash in the pan than he is like a quarterback that could really lead them. And I think that Sam Darnold would be an upgrade in that position for them.
No, he wasn't, Pags. Pags, he was on the 49ers as Purdy's backup. They got to see Darnold practice every day. They got to compare Purdy and Darnold. Darnold had a chance to compete with Purdy for the starting job that Purdy won with the 49ers. So why would they want to snatch Sam Darnold back, a guy who they voluntarily allowed to move on?
Do you think that they regret that decision?
No, Purdy to me is a good quarterback. I'll grab him for the Jets and make him the starter. I'll pay him the money now. I like Purdy. Why is everyone low on Purdy? What am I missing here?
I think he's a great game manager. He's got a lot of weapons at his helm. I mean, when he doesn't have it, I think you see what he really is.
No, Jalen Hurts a game manager primarily.
No, he's not a game manager.
That wouldn't be fair. I could say, oh, look at his weapons. Why he had a great year. Saquon Barkley, A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, Goddard, an excellent offensive line. No, Jalen Hurts is a darn good quarterback. Why do we have to diminish these guys by always calling them game managers, even though I'm guilty of it myself?
Because they are.
I don't think Brock.
The difference between being
I don't think. Brock Purdy has Brock Purdy won a Super Bowl yet? He's been there. He's been close, hasn't he? He still hasn't put the team over the top.
Right. So let's move on from Joe Burrow if you're the Bengals and Josh Allen.
Didn't Joe Burrow?
Those guys are in different class, Jack. Those guys are in totally different class than Brock Purdy. There's no way.
Argument, they didn't win the Super Bowl. Purdy handed the 49er defense a lead in the Super Bowl in overtime, a 3-point lead. He got him into field goal range. The Niner defense, had they held, if they were one play away from winning the Super Bowl, what would you be saying about Brock Purdy then?
I don't know. I just agree to disagree, I guess, with you, Jack.
I don't think that Brock Purdy is like, had he won the Super Bowl, it wouldn't have been because of him. He wouldn't have been Super Bowl MVP.
Yeah.
Well, let's sum it up. Is he a starter in the NFL?
I don't believe
I
so.
I say absolutely. You don't think so? Okay.
But to answer to bring up what you were saying about Sam Darnold, I just want to say I think he should stay in Minnesota. I think his best success was there his whole career. He has a quarterback, coach that can work with him, that obviously found something in him and was able to pull it out of him. And he should take a reasonable salary increase. I don't think he should ask for the most because, clearly.
If you could get a lot more going elsewhere, you go elsewhere. You take the money, James. Come on. I
think they franchise him anyways.
Idealistic. If you could get
you
could get $100 million for 3 years. Do you take $30 million for 1 year?
So $100 million for 3 years is now low for a quarterback.
But
they've
that's what
doubled that
James.
now.
James is inferring, correct me if I'm wrong, James, that Darnold should just take Minnesota's offers. Like, even if it's a 1-year deal, stick with them, whatever. But if you could get a better deal elsewhere, you got to go where the money is, your own financial security.
I agree, but it seems like his success would be more predicated on what he's done in Minnesota and not what he's done all the other teams that he's been with. And wherever he goes from here, is he going to be successful? Is the question.
James, if Mac wants to sign you to a 1 month or 1 year contract, but he has someone else coming ready to replace you, as soon as the guy's ready, you're going to be out. You sign with him because you've had a great time on this show. Come on. I mean, J.J. McCarthy's waiting in the wings. I mean, don't you think Sam Darnold's thinking of that? He's looking over his shoulder every moment. Even if he signs a 1-year deal, he's looking over his shoulder every moment. If he signs a 2-year deal, good guaranteed money, that's another matter. If it's for a couple of years. But
well, look at what happened to Trey Lance.
Well, Trey Lance, come on, don't bring Trey Lance into this. Trey Lance is nothing, not even a discussion. Anyway, let's get on to Chris Godwin. Real good receiver, Tampa Bay. I would imagine Tampa Bay will try to re-sign him. If not, I'm the Giants. I get him. He's a good young wide receiver. I know he got injured, but man, that guy can fly and he's got good hands. So, me being the Giants GM, I definitely take Chris Godwin.
You guys got to worry more about your offensive line and defensive line before you start doing anything. Like that's like, listen, if I was the Giants, this season is not, you're not going to be able to turn it all around yet because you just don't have the type of money to be able to do that. So I would start to bolster the offensive line. That's where your biggest need is, and it's going to take a couple of years to fix it. And that's it doesn't matter who's quarterbacking right now because your quarterback is getting crushed.
We've tried that. It doesn't work. We've tried free agency. We tried drafting. We even got an all-pro from Green Bay, a great tackle, and it still doesn't work. I think we need an offensive line coach is what we need.
Yes.
That's what I think. So that's it. Anyway, Pags, you got 2 Philadelphia Eagles on this free agent list. Josh Sweat had a great Super Bowl, and Zach Brown, linebacker Zach Brown.
Zach Baughn's going to get re-signed. There's no chance that he walks out. Josh Sweat is going to make a lot of money somewhere.
We're mentioning Eagle free agents, Mac, James, and the Eagles signed one of the Jets free agents a year ago, Bryce Huff, who thrived, they said, within the Jets system. That's why the Jets went crazy about giving him a nice deal. But that was one of the rare Howie Roseman mistakes, it seems. And under Vic Fangio, it didn't work out. Great defensive coordinator. Can it still work out with Bryce Huff? Can he get to the form he was with the Jets? As one of these cases, wow, let's just make the best of it with this guy. It's not working out.
I don't believe so. I think that the deal is done with him. Kind of like it's just did they even put him out there on the field? Did he even play a snap in the Super Bowl? There's a lot to be said for that. I don't remember seeing him once. So it's possible he was out there for a couple of plays, but I mean, I didn't remember seeing him. I don't remember seeing him do anything. And I know that him and Vic Fangio did not see eye to eye on how he should be working. And I think Vic said it right away. He's like, if you're not going to put in the work, you're not going to play. And that's where that came from. There's a possibility that I think he gets dropped. I think that he winds up just getting let go.
Pags, I was really rooting for your team for sure. I was rooting for your team. Zach Baun and C.J. Gardner-Johnson were 2 draft picks of the Saints, and I couldn't believe Zach Baun. I didn't even know we had this type of player. I knew he was a great player at Wisconsin. Had 12 sacks his senior season, but we could never find a great use for him. He was in the wrong place. He figured out a new position there and just balled out, man. And he was up for Defensive Player of the Year and got an interception in the Super Bowl. I'm also excited for him. I hope you guys re-sign him and get him to a new contract. C.J. Gardner-Johnson, he's the player that everyone wants on his team, but everybody hates when you play against him because he's
Yeah.
a pet for sure. So, but
Yeah,
great to have.
he's a bapper. He's a bapper in a bad way. Like he's one of those instigators. Like in hockey, he's like the Matthew Barnaby. Like the guy who's just chirping in your ear and gets you off your game because he gets you angry because he knows how to push your buttons. Along with the fact that he plays really well. He's when he went to Detroit, the first thing he did was talk smack on the Eagles. Because he was upset that he wasn't going to remain an Eagle. Now he came back. The moment he came back, it was like they re-signed him again, and he was able to do the things he's done. Obviously, I kind of suspect that he's going to be one of the leaders on the defense for a few more years to come. I think that Darius Slay has probably seen his last game as an Eagle. As much, even though he's got a year left on his contract, I'd be willing to bet that he's going to be allowed to seek other employments in the NFL or ultimately just get let go. Somebody may give us a 5th round pick for him or something like that, but I don't foresee him coming back because I think that, like I said, this is a very young defense. It was the youngest defense in the league, and it was the number 1 defense in the league. So I feel that they're going to go with youth because that's who responds best to Vic Fangio. That he is more of a college coach in comparison to the new NFL, and he treats these guys like college players still. And I think that they respond to that. As you get older and become more veteran, you are not able to want to deal with that. And I think that that was part of the reason why we did so well. And Miami was ready to get rid of him because they had a more veteran defense. They didn't want to put in the work that he was requiring of them.
Yep.
And when they put in the work and they finally got it, I mean, this is his first Super Bowl too, Vic Fangio's. So, I mean, it had more to do with the age of the defense, I feel.
If Vic Fangio wasn't a head coach before with Denver, it didn't work out, would he have been a hot head coaching candidate this year? Because he was a head coach once before, did that work against him?
So no, I kind of feel like that's what the Eagles want. They want guys who have been head coaches, who know how to take on the responsibility of head coaches, and they want them to head coach their department. That's how they want to do this.
Oh, no, Pags. I mean, other teams were not going after Vic Fangio to be their head coach. For example, the Saints got Kellen Moore, the offensive coordinator, where Vic Fangio was actually a little more accomplished, and they didn't go after him.
But Vic announced this. He said, "This is my last stop. I'm going to end as a defensive coordinator. I have no interest in getting a head coaching job." And he's being paid. Last year, he was the highest paid coordinator in all of football. Now, the rumor had it that the Eagles offered more money to Kellen Moore for him to stay than he's getting paid as the Saints head coach. That's the rumor. I can't confirm or deny it. But obviously, Kellen Moore is, he aspired to be a head coach, and now he's going to.
I can't believe that, guys, because
I agree with
coaches usually get about $8 million, maybe up to $10 million. But Kellen Moore, my guess is he would be getting paid in the area of $8 million. And once you pay him $9 million, what are you going to pay Nick Sirianni? You're going to up him to $12 million, only $3 million more than a coordinator. Something about it, I'm not sure about that room. I'm sure they offered him more money. If he was getting $3 million a year as a coordinator, maybe they offered to double it to $6 million. That I could see.
It's possible. I don't know what he's making there. That was the rumor that came across, that they gave him a very healthy offer to remain with us, and he chose the Saints. And I wish him the best of luck. I hope that the Saints organization give him the time to be able to flourish. I think that he's going to have a really tough time these first 2 years. So I hope they put on a no fire clause for 3 years so that he.
Did you watch the interview?
I did not.
Oh man, his conference was hilarious because the Gail Benson started out by calling him Ellen Moore, and so it was hilarious. But what she did go on to say is that he has the reins. She's giving him the reins to do whatever it is he needs to do to bring us back to relevance. And so
Okay.
I mean, I was fired up. Go ahead. Sorry.
That's not.
That's all right.
It-
No, Jack. No, I want to get back to the free agents here because we got a few more to do here. Amari Cooper, of course, was with the Browns. He was with Dallas. He had that time when he went off the sidelines during the game. Bags, if you were able to get Amari Cooper, would you get him?
No, I feel like he's a little bit of a cancer. All right, like he just. I don't know. I don't know the cancer. He's like a tumor. Yeah, sometimes he's malignant and sometimes he's benign. You know what I mean? And I think that's part of the way that he plays. But I obviously he's going to go somewhere and he's going to play. He's actually can still catch the ball and everything. I wouldn't be surprised if you see him go to Kansas City because I think that they are going to wind up getting rid of Hopkins. Hopkins had a bad game and is definitely, I think he's a little too long in the tooth. I think that they're going to be able to give him the right amount of money and obviously Patrick Mahomes. And I wouldn't be surprised to see those two guys start to link up.
Not bad. Running back Aaron Jones. Maybe here's a shot for Dallas to get a running back. He's not too old. He's still got a little tread on the tires. Dallas definitely needs a running game, so that might be something they would want to do. And finally, Stephon Diggs. You talk about cancer. Always fighting his way to get out of somewhere. He does have some talent. He looks good in the beginning of the year, kind of fades at the end of the year. Jack, I mean, you might be losing Devontae Adams. Is that somebody that you would look at?
You got to talk about all the variables. All these guys you're mentioning, Mac. Yeah, any team, even if they're loaded at the positions, would want the guy if the price was right. Like Amari Cooper, for example. If the Eagles would only have to pay him $2 million a year, he would make the Eagle roster. They would readily welcome him onto the team. I mean, but for what you have to pay these guys, consider that. Amari Cooper definitely wouldn't be worth it. Stephon Diggs, what you have to pay him, it's just not worth it. Okay? There are very few truly elite receivers who are difference makers. Justin Jefferson and Jamar Chase come to mind. Those guys are great. You pay them the big money. They are overpowering receivers. They're big-time difference makers.
And not for nothing, I thought Justin Jefferson was so much bigger. I was so shocked when I stood next to him. He's my size. I was like, wow. Like I thought that he was so much larger than life. And he's just my size. I'm sorry, I just had to throw that in there.
Yeah. But to throw it in, I'll give you an example. Young guy on your team, Devontae Smith. What was the big knock on him coming out of college?
170 pounds.
Too small. He won't be able to take the hits in the NFL. He won't be able to last because he's too small. He hasn't been injury prone. I mean, the hits haven't affected him, his size. But certain guys, Stephon Diggs, maybe a few years ago, he would have been in the class of the guys I mentioned, perhaps, even though I don't quite think so. But not now. I mean, Pags used the term a little long in the tooth. I'm not sure Stephon Diggs long in the tooth, but not what you got to pay him. If you could get him at $10 million a year, and you need a receiver, I mean, you get him. But he's going to command bigger money. It's just not
I think he goes with his brother, actually. He may take a hometown discount in Dallas to go play with his brother a little bit. And I think and I say that when I say the hometown, the $10 million might sound about right. He's obviously coming off an injury. He's not going to get the money that he's used to getting this time around because of the injury. I wouldn't be surprised that he gets it for with Dallas.
I think you're echoing, Sonia. Yeah, I think.
Good morning.
I think you're echoing, Sonia.
Okay, go on.
There you go.
Yeah, that's
so
fine.
we're almost at the end of the show, Sonia. I mean, you could have. Well, I'm glad you made it. Let's put it that way.
I
Somebody's gotta
texted
make
you and told you I have a sore throat this morning, so I'm not feeling 100%.
But somebody has to make this show look a little bit better. Damn, man. I mean, we got 4 ugly guys up here and 1 beautiful
That's
lady.
true.
So
Thank you,
There
Pegs.
you go. Yes. So NBA Commissioner Adam Silver meets with the players and highly stresses that they be competitive in the All-Star game. So, I mean, I guess he doesn't want them just letting the players run up and down the court and do layups and stuff like that. Will the players listen, and will it work? What do you think? What do you think, Jack? No.
Who cares what Adam Silver says amongst the players? Do you think they take him seriously? He might be liked, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying he's disliked. Adam Silver saying play harder, play more defense, try this, try that. They're not going to listen. It's a fun time to get together with their colleagues. That's how the players look at it. They're honored to be in the All-Star game. You have to make it worth it. I've suggested it numerous times. X amount of money for the winning team. Maybe the losing team gets nothing. $1 million for each player on the winning team. That's going to wake them up. They're going to play hard to win the game to get that $1 million check. Okay? I mean, that's the only way it's going to get done. Don't appeal to these guys' pride. I'm not saying they don't have a lot of pride, but it's an exhibition. They don't take it seriously. They're not going to die for balls. I mean, come on.
It's one of the worst games to watch now. I mean, when I heard this, that Adam Silver is going to ask him to play it, I may consider watching the game now. I don't even watch it anymore. I've been stopped watching. I'll just watch the highlights here and there, and even the highlights are terrible because there's nothing. Just allow guys to just dunk and do whatever they want to do. There's nobody defending. There's no nothing. I mean, let's get back to the last Pro Bowl when you saw Sean Taylor knock the kicker, the punter out because he tried to fake punt and ran, and then everybody got excited and they started playing the game. It's just not fun. I get what you're saying, Jack, in regards to not wanting to hurt yourself or anything like that, but that's what you get paid for. Injuries happen, unfortunately. It's a part of the game. You get paid to play the game.
James, they're not playing for anything in their own head. It's not like East against West. We want to show pride in our conference to win the game. They couldn't care less about the game in itself. They're there like having fun on All-Star Day weekend, and they're just having to play the game with their buddies. It's like playing in the playground to them, just having fun. The whole game is fun. They don't care what's at stake.
But the ratings are bad. The whole NBA product, the ratings are pretty bad. I mean, it went up a little bit when the trade with Luka Doncic happened, so it got spiked. So now we're looking at something different here. So that's a little bit more excitement, but it's pretty bad, man.
And they really have to do something. The fans, I know the Philadelphia fans are one thing, but the fans in general are fed up that these players are making millions of dollars, multi-millions of dollars, and don't want to play, and are getting themselves out of shape. They're going to have to. I've been saying that when they go to the CBA, they're going to have to create the Ben Simmons rule, and it's going to happen. It's going to happen. It's got to happen, or else basketball is going to start to fall behind hockey, because that's where it's headed towards.
It's the same equivalent as when like the NFL with the Pro Bowl. I mean, we've seen like even with the offside kick, y'all. I'm sorry, we just see like a more structured type of game and more scripted, in my opinion. And so I think it's kind of following that same suit. Sorry about that, Jack. I didn't know you were starting to talk.
No. You go ahead. I say enough, but I'm glad to hear you. No, I was just saying,
so Sonia,
Mac was praising Ben Simmons a day or two ago, going to the Clippers. Oh, how good. Do you think Mac was inferring that Ben Simmons can finally put it all together and be this great? Because he scored 12 points in his debut with the Clippers. You won, Mac. You won. I think, James, you won that show, right? When Mac was praising Ben Simmons. Come on. Yesterday it was.
I don't think we both had a point.
Oh, go ahead.
I said we both had a point. Is that like people, you look at what the guy was, or who he was from the start. He's talented, but you still have these problems. But you still believe that you could try to fix him and try to get him out there. I mean, he had a really good game, but who knows what he's going to be afterwards? He had a really good game in his debut with the Clippers, but you just don't know what it's going to be like down the long run. Is he going to have back issues, or he's going to have mental breakdown? Who knows? It's just unfortunate, but you still want to try to kick the tires, you know.
Yeah, well, that's because he wants another contract. He wants to make the money. And now he's going to play a little bit so he can get that contract, and then he's going to quit again because he doesn't care about basketball. He cares about being a baller. That's what he wants to be. He wants to be the guy who's got all this money and likes to go out and party and be with all the ladies and stuff like that. He wants all the accolades, but none of the work.
So why do teams keep signing him then back?
Because the talent is still there. Because I mean, listen, at this point, they traded him and traded for him because they have a better shot than the Nets of making the playoffs. And let's see if he can help at all. You know what I mean? What's it hurt at this point? You already know what you're getting. If you only even keep him this season, he may be a help because he's not playing for a team that's not going anywhere. He may play for a team that is going a little place, and that's what you can only hope for.
Okay, Sonia, you mentioned the NFL. The NFL All-Star Game, the basketball, unwatchable. What do you think about the baseball All-Star Game? I mean, I know you're a big baseball fan. Isn't that more realistic than the rest of them?
Yeah, I think that, I mean, they're still playing the game. And at the end of the day, baseball is kind of less contact anyway, so maybe that's probably the reason. You're not having to really tackle somebody. You don't hear of a lot of baseball injuries, like you do the heavier contact sports. And perhaps that's the reason. And we also see that baseball has the longer season as well. So, well, it's kind of actually a little bit less than the NBA, I'm assuming. But at the end of the day, it's definitely more realistic. I mean, it's more laid back. I mean, it's less like aggressive. And so, yeah, that's probably the only sport that we have right now that is basically more accurate to what the game has had looked like and continues to look like.
Hey, Sonia, yeah, I'm a little nervous you're driving, talking. Either you pull over or maybe get off. We all love you,
Jack,
Sonia.
be
We want you to
quiet.
concentrate on the
Be
road.
quiet. No, Jack, it's fine. That's why there's AirPods or car speaker. But thank you. I gotta go get some. I gotta go get some medicine. So there's that.
All right.
Okay.
Pags, how about the hockey All-Star Game, the NHL All-Star Game? Has that stayed the same or kind of lessened up?
Well, so in previous years they went to the 3x3 format, the 3 versus 3, which was a better format than the normal hockey games. It's like when it started to go the same way as basketball, they wanted to change it up and try to make it more competitive. I think they found a really good formula now where they're getting these teams. Obviously, what you saw last night was an all-star game, and that is a competitive all-star game. You got to find something that these players will play strong for. You got what makes them tick. So you're right. I think in basketball it requires money. And I feel like in football it's they liked going to Hawaii. That was kind of the reason. They didn't really want to play there. They just liked going there. I think in football it's such a farce anymore. I think that they should make it fan operated. What that means is that I feel like change it all the way up, make it east, west, north, south, and get your teams from those divisions. It doesn't matter. AFC and NFC play together, and then find 4 fans to coach those teams with help. Obviously, you want real coaches to help them and make it fan friendly completely. I think that's where that goes because nobody cares about the All-Star game. But it would be fun if fans were the ones doing it. They got so many things with the Mannings right now. It's just like, meh. I'm bored with it. So, but you could have like that small little round robin and have like the 7-minute quarters that don't stop. So you could play 3 games, winner, winner, 2 winners, end of story. And that's,
No,
I think,
Pax, I give the NFL a pass because football is a tough game. There's no way of going easy. If you're going to play it hard, tackling and all, I understand what they're doing. The NBA is different. These guys can play hard the whole game. Major League Baseball, they can play hard the whole game. Don't get me wrong. You have an all-star game in Major League Baseball. Maybe you don't take a guy out of the double play and go all out and take his legs out from under him, but you can still run the bases hard and do everything else at, close to top speed. But in the NFL, you don't want to lay a hard hit on a player. You just
no,
don't.
you got it. No, that's what I'm talking about. You play the flag football. Like I said, you've now lessened it so much. So you play the flag football, but you play a round robin and have the fans coach these teams. I think that you take away the fact that it's an all-star game anymore. You got to make it fan friendly.
Pags, why don't you play hard? I mean, what happened? Reggie White played hard.
Nobody cares.
Lawrence Taylor played hard. Pay him to play hard. I don't know why. I mean, what makes them better than those players if they're not? They didn't get injured. They played hard. They hit, like James said, lays out a punter. There you go. That's football. We're coming away from football, man. And that's
I understand, but it's not that they're not going to, and you're not going to be able to entice them with money because these guys make a lot of money. So,
I
I
think the reason why is because there's a lot of players post game, in their older years or whatever, that are having all these types of injuries. You're seeing lawsuits or what have you because of the lack of care. Post playing, they're saying that the insurance is inadequate. Now, granted, they have gotten enough money that they should be able to secure their own insurance, no matter what that looks like, after they've played in the league. But you continue to see these small little complaints or innuendos or even lawsuits or what have you against the league. I mean, we don't always hear about it, but they are there. And I think that's the reason why the league is taking less aggressive measures as far as allowing players to play aggressive. So should I say the league is being more aggressive in saying that players are playing less aggressive?
I also believe that once you get to the 20, I'm calling it a 20-week schedule. It's really going to be 18 games. You're going to see the NFL All-Star Game get moved to week 16, which is going to be the full bye. Where every team's going to get a bye on that week 16. They're going to have the All-Star Game at that time. And it's going to be like an in-season All-Star Game where they're going to be doing this because they want the one thing that happens for where the All-Star Game now is that everybody's ready for the Super Bowl. So they're all looking forward to that, and they kind of forget that Sunday. They got to get all the stuff together. When they do it in the middle of the season, I think they'll get more viewership. I think that more people will be paying attention just in general, and that even if it's a flag football game, it's going to generate more interest in general. But they're going to do it at that point because realistically, doing it at the end of the season when everything is all said and done, after guys have just played in an NFC Championship game and lost, they're not really interested in going to go play down in Orlando or Hawaii to go play a flag football game. It's like one of those things where I'm just going to opt out. And so I think that's what's going to happen here when they do that all team bye at week 16, heading into 17, 18, 19, and 20, the last 4 games. That's when they're going to have the All-Star break from there on out.
Yeah, that makes sense. So let's get to Major League Baseball. I don't think I've ever seen a league change a rule for one player. Well, that happened with Shohei Ohtani. They changed the eligibility rule so that he can pitch and also and hit at the same time. Let me get it for you. Let's see. MLB baseball rule change gets two-way eligibility, even though there you go. He didn't play or pitch on the mound last year. So Major League Baseball has actually changed the rules so that he can pitch, even though he didn't pitch last year, and he could still hit. So I don't think I've ever seen. I don't think even they did that for Babe Ruth. I'm not sure, but I mean, what do you guys think? I mean, what do you? Go ahead.
It's something that absolutely had to happen. It is something that absolutely had to happen. They did. Obviously, they weren't really expecting somebody like Shohei when they made the rules, when they made that rule. So now you have a team out there that's saying, okay, well, he's going to be a pitcher and he's going to be a hitter, and if he gets pulled out for pitching, that means we got to pull him out for hitting too. That doesn't make sense. So ultimately, this rule is made to be able to allow certain pitchers the ability to hit. Obviously, right now, the only one out there that anybody's thinking about is Shohei Ohtani. But there's other pitchers that have had good bats and that are going to be able to do this now as well. So it's done for the entire league, but it had to be done because specifically of Shohei, but realistically, it's done because eventually there's going to be somebody else other than Shohei that's doing this.
I mean, me and Jack have talked
Mac,
about.
Is it the old-fashioned way, Mac, where he's just, instead of the DH, Ohtani is hitting while he's the pitcher? So he's still the DH, but just in that slot. I'm a little confused here with the new rule.
Yeah,
Ohtani
I mean,
the DH, so we just everything is the same, as far as I can see.
Well, last year he wouldn't have been able to DH. This
he
year
would have either been a pitcher or a DH. He couldn't be both.
Right.
So here now, what they're giving is they're allowing him to be a dual, so the DH can now be the pitcher. That's kind of what they're saying, is that you can have your pitcher be the DH, and when you pull him from pitching, he will be able to remain in the DH role. And that's it. That's as simple as that.
I know hypothetically, if you had, for example, a Mariano Rivera on the mound, and you wanted to take him out for one batter, put him in the outfield, and bring in another reliever, you would then be able to then take him from, well, the rules changed, but at the time, from being an outfielder back to pitching again. Let's say you wanted someone else to pitch to David Ortiz for one batter. I'm just giving an example. But I think it's much ado about nothing, but they have to have this rule in place. I mean, if a pitcher's good enough to swing the bat as a DH, how can you tell a team that he can't? So fortunately, they've corrected this.
Well, Sonia,
it's like the Babe Ruth rule.
Sonia, me and Jack have talked about this. I don't know if you've ever thought about this, but there are pitchers right now, not only that can hit good, very good, and they're going to be coming up. And if they find out that they can do this in Major League Baseball and maybe make more money because they're getting paid for two positions, they're going to do this.
Yeah, let me be clear. I'm just kind of a little exhausted about the league making all these exceptions for Shohei. You guys know I'm still kind of stumped on the whole gambling thing and the fact that he's still, was not really disciplined for that. I just feel like, if we've seen it before, Shohei clearly is not the only phenom for being able to also hit and pitch. With that being said, I don't know how all these years that we've had the league that we have not seen this prior to, or maybe it was just overlooked or somebody wasn't given an opportunity to do both roles. But I feel like in this day and age, just like we see the difference in the generation of all sports, there's an evolution across the board, even with baseball. So I feel like going forward, the league is going to have to make additional provisions or perhaps implement some sort of cap. Because if you're talking about somebody coming in and saying, well, I can do both roles and everybody else on my team cannot, what makes me be able to, basically drain the pockets just because I'm able to do a dual role? And then we're going to see this copycat type of behavior across the league with other organizations. So that's my theory on that.
Wait, Sonia, so Ohtani's interpreter was just sentenced to a few years in jail. So without any evidence of Ohtani gambling at all, you feel he should have been disciplined by Major League Baseball?
I mean, I feel like this. It's the same equivalent that when we let somebody else prepare our taxes. The IRS doesn't care if you prepared them or if you paid somebody $1 million to prepare them. If you are found that you did not do a checks and balance of what you had, you got to be basically, you got to cover your own, you know what, CYA. Shohei in that type of environment, making all the money that he makes, he should have known, number one, there's going to be a language barrier because you're coming to a different country. He has a no holds barred way of expending to ensure that he was covered all around. Because I guarantee you, I bet you he's doing it now. I bet you he knows now to make sure that everything is T's crossed and I's dotted. So I feel like just like you and I wouldn't get the benefit of the doubt in that situation, a dollar sign shouldn't change the responsibility for someone else.
I have a question in regards to Shohei Ohtani. Is he the face of baseball right now at this point?
Oh Lord, please.
Yeah,
I
I
mean,
guess
he is right
everybody's
now.
probably
I would
saying it.
imagine.
Yeah, he
Okay,
is.
so Tom Brady, he was the face of football. He had rule changes when he tore his ACL about hitting low. Michael Jordan, face of basketball at the time. Rules changed because of certain things that were happening to him. I'm not saying that right or wrong this rule change for him. I'm just saying players, if they're face, they're the ones that bringing in the money for the most part. Uh, they're going to cater to these guys in some way or fashion.
You know, I want to ask Pags a question that wasn't addressed last baseball season. It was before the season. Whatever happened with Bryce Harper's so-called wanting an extension with like 8 years left on his deal or so? There was talk about it, and he wanted it, and he said to the Phillies, even, you could get around to my contract after you negotiate with so-and-so. And then we didn't hear about anything during the year. Did they extend them? Because when Bryce Harper signed a 13-year deal with the Phillies, it wasn't a smart business decision in this sense. Everyone has an opt-out clause. Now, I hate it personally. I hate it with a passion. But Harper was very idealistic. He wanted to show the Philadelphia fans he was fully committed to them, no opt-out, which turned out to be a bad business deal for him because everyone has an opt-out. What's the deal with the Phillies? I mean, to extend the guy when he's 38 at that point doesn't make sense, really. But has that ever been resolved, Pax? I haven't heard anything anymore during the year.
Yeah, it's been resolved.
What happened?
They got him some endorsements.
Endorsements? The Phillies got him endorsements?
I don't know. It went away because it was a non-story. You're the only one talking about it.
It was on the news.
Oh, that's right, Pam. Get him. Attack.
Yeah, it was on the news for like 6 minutes. You kept that 6 minutes to make it a year and 6 minutes. But nobody's talking about it. Nobody cares.
Okay, I mean, okay, you got me on that one, but it was talked about for a little while. I mean, last year.
Yeah, you talked about it more than anybody else.
Okay.
Trying to bust my chops on it. I get it.
I've got that work for you, Jack. I bet you ain't coming for him today.
Hey, listen, I can't argue. No one's talked about it the past year. So what am I going to say?
I will say this though. And you could take this as a hot take, but I actually really do mean this. You're going to watch the Dodgers not make the playoffs this year. I think that too many egos in the pot are going to spoil the soup. And I think that that's going to happen there. You're going to find that they are going to I think that they're going to have a very similar situation to what happened with the Phillies. When you have all that talent and you have somebody that starts to struggle, everybody started to struggle. And you're going to see that happen on the Dodgers in a big way. And I think that they are going to not make the playoffs.
That's a bold prediction. I mean, to say they won't win the World Series, Okay, they are loaded, the Dodgers. They are so loaded.
That's why. Dream team starts to come to mind. And when you have a dream team, you usually have a failure.
I
Just
mean,
saying.
it's them against what 29 other teams. I mean, I always would take I'll take the field over one team, no problem.
Right.
I would. So, yeah. One question for you before we go: if you were a GM and your starting pitcher, well, your last year's starting pitcher came into you and told you he was not going to be a relief pitcher this year, even though he's making the same amount of money, what would you say, Sonia?
I would literally say you probably need to be thinking about going to another team, because how are you making that money and basically you are our relief pitcher. Well, first I'd hear you out as to why you felt like you weren't going to do that. I would at least give you the opportunity to voice your opinion on why not. And then I'd be looking to find you somewhere else to go and find me someone that would be willing to actually play the game.
Okay. All right. That makes sense to me. All right, folks. Thanks for sticking with us. Thanks for the comment, Richard and Chris F. Grave. Thanks for the views. This is a Sunday Big Football Show and more. We started off with hockey today, folks. I don't think that'll ever happen again. So I hope you enjoyed it. It was a great game. And we will see you. Me and Jack will see you on Monday morning. And that should do it. So we'll see you guys soon. Have a good one. I can't say if your team. I hope your team wins. I can't say that because it's football.
Football's over.
Have a good one.